Hey friend, welcome and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Listen, if this is your first time here, then welcome. I give lighthearted reviews of some of my favorite TV shows and movies. So with that being said, if this is something that interests you, consider sticking around. I do have a lot more shows and movies coming to my channel, and I'm so glad you're here today. I want to give a huge thank you to those who have supported my channel by subscribing and liking my videos. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. Y'all just don't understand. I am new, just starting my channel up, and this is something that I enjoy doing. So thank you guys for rocking with me. It really means a lot. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into why we are here today. This is The Shy, Season 7, Episode 11. This one was called Ready or Not. Ready or Not. Listen, if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers ahead. Get you a box of tissue because the way that Emmett did what he did with his mama, we're gonna get there. But somebody was cutting the onions this episode. My eyes were sweating. My eyelids were sweating. But anyway, let's get into it, y'all. Okay, y'all. So you know how we typically do with The Shy. We don't really go in sequence of how it all went down. We're going to talk about it character by character. So let's go ahead and start with Dom and Jamal. So you guys remember last episode, they were still in counseling, still trying to figure out this baby thing. Dom wants to, not Dom, Jamal wants to have a kid because he's all about the legacy since he got shot. And Dom is like, nope, no babies here, not trying to do that. And so I guess this episode, they have decided that they do not want to have kids. So now they're in agreement on that. So that was good that they compromised on that one. But there are still more issues. And this is what happens when you just up and marry somebody and you really don't take the time to get to know them. You know, I bet you she doesn't even know what his blood type is. I bet you he probably doesn't even know like what's her religion. Like those are the kind of things that in the beginning, you don't think about asking, but these are important questions. Your beliefs. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in whatever. What's your thoughts on pro-life, pro-choice? These are the conversations that you need to have with your spouse or the person that you're considering to be a spouse before you jump the broom and jump into something with somebody and you have no idea, because once you get married, yeah, you can get out of it, but you're in for the fight. So it's not like you can just say, oh, you're a Catholic, I'm Baptist, I'm out of here. You have to try to come to a compromise. And it's easier to do before you get married than it is when you're dating. So anyway, some of the stuff they're talking about, Dom is more independent. She's used to having her own money. And Jamal's like, nope, I feel like we need to have it all together, one big old joint account. We need to be moving as a single unit. Now, another thing that came up was that I guess Dom's got her little rose, her little toy, in a nightstand, which as women sometimes we have those things, and it doesn't have anything to do with having a man or not having a man. I mean, men do it all the time. It's just about pleasuring yourself, and sometimes you do that. If you're into that, that's what you do. It doesn't have anything to do, but sometimes men get threatened by that and they feel like, oh, well, if you got that, you don't need me. That's not true at all. But anyway, he goes and he seeks counsel from Pastor Zeke. And Pastor Zeke is just pretty much saying, hey, next time she pulls it out, jump in there, and see and have a little bit of fun. Because he was like, when you're married, everything that goes on inside of the bedroom between you and your wife, that's between you and your wife. There's nothing wrong with that. No judgment. So, have a little bit of fun with it. Don't be so, oh, you got that, you don't need me. I mean, that's not it at all. So I'm glad that he told him that. And Jamal seems to be open to it. So we'll see what happens there. Now, speaking of the pastor, we see that he's getting settled into Papa's daddy's church. And, people are kind of skeptical, I guess you could say, of how he's going to come. He's had a couple of scandals. His ex-wife was cheating, and then he was cheating with the secretary. It's just been a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of drama. But anyway, I feel like he's given a second chance with Papa's daddy's church. But Papa has an idea. Well, first, we see that Charles is back. Hey, Charles. Anyway, Charles is like, listen, I want to be your number two. I'm here. And Pastor Zeke seems to be on board with it, but he's like, listen, guy, no one likes a single pastor. You're going to have to find you a good, God-fearing woman, okay? Go find you somebody. And Charles is like, yeah, I'm looking. I just ain't found nobody yet. He's like, yeah, you're looking for for perfection. You're not going to find that perfection that you're looking for. So you just need to find a good woman, God fearing woman, and let's go. You need to settle on down and get married. I never even thought about that people don't like a single pastor. I mean, now that I think about it, most of the pastors that I do know uh, are married. If not, then, but I really don't know, especially the older ones. Now, some of these younger pastors that's coming up, I do know of some single ones, but for the most part, most pastors are married. But anyway, later we see the pastor talking to Papa, and Papa's like, listen, how about you come on my podcast? This is going to give you an opportunity to set the record straight on some things, be honest, be open, let the people begin to understand you more. So he agrees to do it. So Papa's giving the interview. He's asking about Tatiana. He's asking about his ex-wife. And Pastor goes on to talk about Kenya and how she was wild and seeking, the attention that she didn't get from him because he was never, kind of not in her life, from other men in the streets. And I'm like, whoa, easy there, Pastor. You're telling all the girls' business. And of course, the ex-wife is mad about it and Kenya's mad about it. They're like, how dare you go on this podcast and just spread all of our business like that? And my thing is, why didn't you talk to your family, Pastor Zeke, before you even went on there? Like, you just airing everything out. I feel like there needed to be a conversation. Hey, here, I'm going on Papa's podcast. Here's what you can talk about and here's what you can't. Stay clear of this and you can talk about this all day. But apparently that conversation was never had. And now Kenya and the ex-wife are pissed off at the pastor, and rightly so. So just when you think that maybe there's going to be some kind of reconciliation, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they can work through this, but pastor just needs to just be smart about it, pastor. So we'll see what happens there. But that was pretty much what happened with Dom and Jamal and the pastor and Papa. I really want them to get Papa out of that church environment a little bit more and back to his friends. We do see him hanging out with Jake and Bakari a little bit later. We're going to talk about that later as well. But yep, let's see what happens with the pastor. All right, y'all, let's talk about Damien. I don't know why I'm still seeing Damien on my screen. The main question that I have is how come Hannibal has not found out that he took that mushroom? And it's not that I want something bad to happen to Damien, but I want him to be more accountable. Like, you just can't go along just doing whatever you want and just saying, oh, I'm sorry, stare, stare, blink, blink. Like, no, you need to be a little bit more accountable for some of the stuff that you're doing. And now this episode is no different. Now you done got your nephew Ronnie down to the schoolhouse. You were supposed to pick him up, but instead you're in the house in the middle of the day, rabbit humping on Ziri. So I'm like, what is going on here with you, Damien? So Keisha comes home. She's got Ronnie. She's pissed off. She's like, look, you're supposed to be picking up your nephew. What are you doing? And of course, she can tell that somebody is in the room. She finds the panties. She tells Zuri to come up underneath the bed and then offers her some smokies. I'm like, all right. So I guess you're doing this, Keisha, because you were also caught up under the bed by Jada. And maybe you're feeling a little, nostalgic, or maybe you're feeling like you should just allow this woman some grace. But, I don't know. I'm sure she didn't know that Damien had to pick up the little boy. But anyway, later on, we see that Keisha and Emmett sit Damien down and they set rules and boundaries, which I'm like, this should have happened the very first day he moved in. Now y'all are waiting until after he's just out of control. But anyway, they tell him, look, if you eat something, you need to replace it. No gambling. And if you say you're going to do something like watch my child, you better make sure that you're on it. Me personally, I would never have Damien watching my kid. I don't care. No, no, thank you. Not even let me, keep your eye on him while I go jump in the shower. Nope, that's okay. I got him. I wouldn't do it because Damien is just so irresponsible. I just don't get it. And again, I want to know, when is he going to get questioned about that shroom that he took from Hannibal? Like, when is that happening? But anyway, later on, I think this is when they had the ceremony or the celebration for Jada, and they must have left the baby with Damien, because when they come back, they see that he's asleep on the couch and we've got Zuri, and Zuri seems to be Zuri. So Zuri seems to be taking care of Ronnie and she's good with him, and he couldn't stop crying. And that's the reason why Damien called her over there to kind of help out. And so they're just like, you seem to be pretty good with him, and we have been looking for a nanny. So she was like, yeah, I used to be a nanny for this one couple, but they're like, okay, well, what happened? Well, I had to leave because the husband or the father made a pass at me. And here go Emmett. Oh well, I'm reformed. I'm a reformed asshole now. So, it's okay if, if you want to stay. And I'm thinking, Keisha, your next question should have been, if you're considering her, your next question should have been, was it reciprocated? Like, were you and the husband doing y'all's thing and the wife, walked in? Because you consider yourself a free spirit. And most people that are free spirits are just like, hey, if it happens, let it happen. And Zuri kind of strikes me as that type. So, Keisha, if you are considering having this woman around you and your baby and your soon to be husband, then you might need to start asking some more follow on questions, sis, because you didn't say anything. And I know that you said that you and Emmett were going to talk about it, but Emmett seems to be like full speed ahead. Hey, let's go ahead. You're hired. And I'm like, this is how things fall apart, Emmett. So hopefully Keisha will be the one that's mainly making a decision on that one. But on the surface, it does seem like she is good with the little boy. But whenever I hear free spirit, I'm always like, okay, free spirit doesn't really give me stability. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so now back at the support group, we see that Darnell has gone back again and he is talking to Wendy Raquel Robinson's character. I did not get her name again, but it's so good to see her back. She looks amazing, by the way. Anyway, she was just saying if I had it to do again, I wish that I had spent more time with my husband. And so she suggests that Darnell holds like a celebration of life for Jada while she's still here. That way people will have the opportunity to you know, say thank you or, just express their love and their thoughts and feelings on Jada. Give her her flowers while she's still on this side. So Darnell's like, all right, it sounds like a good idea. So he's talking to Emmett about it. And Emmett's like, where'd you get this idea from? He's like, yes, woman at the support group. And he's like, hold on, Nick, hold on. Now I know, got going well that you are not getting ready to replace my mama, and she ain't even, cool in the ground yet. Like, what's going on here? He's like, man, calm down. This is a lady who lost her husband, and she's just there, and we're all there to support each other. I ain't thinking about hooking up with no other woman. The love of my life is dying. Are you crazy? He's like, I'm sorry, Pop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But anyway, he runs it by Jada. Jada's like, okay, we can do it, but I don't want no depressing stuff. Don't make it sad. Just, if we're going to do it, just celebrate it. And so Wendy's character was saying, just make it intimate, make it small, but just, make it loving and people will come and I think it'll be a good thing. So they end up having it. I think they had it at the cigar bar. That's what it looked like it was. And everybody showed up. Everybody looked really nice. I think that the place was really done up. They had pictures on the wall of Jada and the family. It was really nice. I was already getting choked up. Now, when people started standing up, they showed that they were talking and speaking to Jada, but there was no audio on it. I think it was just playing off a backdrop of music. But when it was Emmett's turn to get up there, I already was feeling like my eyelids were starting to sweat. I was like, oh boy, he couldn't even get through it because what happened was Darnell had told Emmett that he wanted him to, get up and say something, write a speech. He's like, I gotta write a speech. He's like, no, don't write a speech, but I do want you to get up and say something about your mother. So he did end up writing something down, looked like he had like an index card in his hand, but honey, he couldn't even get through it. Like as soon as he stood up there, he just broke down. And when I tell you he broke down and he went over there and hugged his mama, oh my God, I was done. I was completely done. And so Darnell had to end up taking the card and actually reading what he wrote which was absolutely beautiful. It was the perfect thing that you say to your mother in this sort of situation. I mean, it just really much said it all. And we do know that a little boy's first love is his mother, but I think anybody's first love is their mom. I mean, we're going into August. Quick story. My mother's birthday is August the 1st, and I lost her August 8th of 2019. So August is always a tough month for me. So I think that was why I was really in here boo hoo 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 crying because all of the emotions of my own mother's passing was just flooding through. But anyway, great scene, great acting. I loved it. Emmett, you did that, my boy. You did that. But Jada, I want you to fight. She does talk to the women's group. She does tell the women's group about it. And they just like all of us probably. Why don't you fight? Get a second opinion. Do holistic therapy, just whatever you need to do to stay on this side. Like you still got a whole lot of life in you, girl, but you can never put yourself in a place of somebody who is going through it, because you don't know what all that chemo and radiation and stuff does to someone's body unless you've gone through it. And it's probably hard. And after all of that, she probably don't want to do it again. She did it when she had cancer the first time, and maybe it took a toll on her, and she just doesn't want to go through that anymore. She's tired. So if you're tired and you don't want to fight, nobody can make you. I really wish you had a little bit more fight in you, only because we want to see you and we love you, girl. It's going to be sad that she's no longer here. I feel like, wow, they're really getting her out of here, though, because it looks like, according to the previews, that she's laid up in the bed and it might be it. And I'm like, well, good grief. We just found out that she was passing away like a couple episodes ago. I mean, can we have her be on the next season? And then, but I don't know how this is going to happen, because next week is the season finale. But we will see. Jada, you will definitely be missed, girl. But it was a great, I've never heard of that, a celebration of life while they're still with us. I guess people are starting to do that more. I don't know. I think it would be probably a little bit too emotional for some to do it, but if you can do it and it works, then okay. All right, writers. I see what y'all are doing with these 90s movies. I think a couple episodes ago we had a nod to Do the Right Thing, and this episode it was definitely Boys in the Hood. Let's talk about Bakari. So y'all remember when the episode went off, we had Alicia and Bakari having their conversation, where Alicia was letting Bakari know she has no problem unaliving him and putting him in the backyard next to her daisies. And Bakari's just sitting there looking like he is about to meet his maker. And Bakari tells her that it was Zay that killed Rob. And she's like, how do you know that? She's like, well, that's what Nook told me. Nook told me that it was Zay. And she's like, so you're loyal to Nook? And he's like, I'm loyal to no one. I'm loyal to myself. So I don't know how he ended up getting out of there without, getting hurt, but he did. And so later we see that he's there and he's talking to Nook, and he's telling Nook about the conversation that he had with Alicia and how she believes that it was him who actually killed Rob. And so he also reminds Nook that, remember, I threw up right outside of Alicia's house, so she knows that I was there. And he was like, man, you're weak. You're a weak number two. And Bakari's like, hey, guy, I never even wanted to be your number two. Like, you're the one who got me in the middle of all this. You chose me. He's like, yeah, you're weak. You're not a good number two. So I'm like, Lord, I really think that Bakari is now realizing that he is way in too deep. So where does he go? He goes and does what he always does. They go back to the woman. So he goes back to Janae, and oh, Janae, it's so good to be over here. You got something to eat. And Janae's like, listen, here you go again. You're choosing me over the streets, because I think that, they started talking. Janae is still a little salty about him making that decision to choose the streets over her, but he does explain to her, hey, look, I did not have a choice, right? I didn't, he made me my number two. If I had it to do, I definitely would have stayed. So he ends up telling Janae that it was Nook that killed Rob. And I'm like, Bakari, why are you telling Janae that? So now we know that Janae knows. We also know that Kenya knows. And who else knows? We know that the pastor knows. So that's three people right there that know that Nook was the one that killed Rob. So I mean, why not just, put ad in the paper? Shout out the dead presidents, Chris Tucker. But anyway, we also see a little nod to Boys in the Hood. We got the professor. He's standing out there. There's a billboard that says, stop what you're doing and go join the military. So all of a sudden he walks up, hey guys, and they're just standing there. We got Papa, we got Jake, and we got Bakari. And so Papa's like, hey, I'm in the church. Don't worry about me. I'm just gonna pray all the violence away. And so uh I think Bakari said, well, going into the military would get me out of, a lot, and it does help. And so the professor is just talking, no, you don't need to go into the military. You don't have to have a machine gun. You need to, if you want to make your clothes for the community, make your clothes. If you want to, be in the church, be in the church, but don't, stay in the church, forever. And I thought, well, that was a little weird for him to say that, but anyway, I guess his point was you don't need to go off and join the military to make a difference. I kind of disagree, and I may be a little biased. I am a Army retiree, I did 26 years. So me personally, I think that it's a great idea. You ain't got to do 20 years, but go in there, learn you a trade, go to school for free. They'll pick up the tab. And for young men, and it's not for everybody, but for young men like these characters that are being portrayed, it might be a good idea, to go and get away from this toxic environment, get out of the streets. If you're not doing anything, you're just waking up, smoking weed, and playing video games, and robbing people for money. There is other options that you can do, and going into the military is not all about picking up a machine gun and shooting and killing people. It's really not. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So that was a nod to Boys in the Hood. The other nod was when Bakari was having a dream, because he tells Nook that he feels like somebody is out to kill him. He's having a dream, and it was the same exact dream of one of the scenes in Boys in the Hood where we see Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character and Morris Chestnut when they're walking back to get the cornmeal so a girl can fry the fish. Ricky and God, what is Cuba's Ricky and oh my gosh, Ricky and Trey. So Ricky got the scratch off, just like Bakari got the scratch off, and he's carrying a bag. And then we see Jake, and he's supposed to be Cuba Gooding, and he turns around, and there's a red car, and then he's shot. He's wearing the same thing that Ricky had on. And at first, I was like, "This got to be a dream," and it was a dream. So Bakari, yeah, you're doing some foreshadowing, my boy. I don't know. I really hope it's not Bakari, because I love Bakari, but he does tell the professor, while the professor is out there playing Furious from Boys in the Hood, that Alicia did pull his scholarship. So he did say he was going to talk to him, but I feel like it's much too little, too late, Bakari. Alicia is not giving you that scholarship. I don't see that happening, but we'll see. All right, writers, we see you giving a nod to another great movie from the 90s. We got New Jack City. We got Reg, y'all. Let's talk about it. So Reg feels like somebody is there. Somebody's a snake. Somebody's a rat. Somebody is setting him up. We got him sitting at the table. He's talking with Hannibal. He's got the Glock on the table. Hannibal looks like he's about to start singing like a canary. I'm like, Hannibal, my guy, you need to go eat you a shroom, smoke you some weed. You need to go do something, because you are looking like you are guilty, right? So anyway, he tells Hannibal, he's like, look, get everybody together, and whoever is trying to snitch on me and whoever's a rat, they gonna die. So anyway, they come back. We got everybody at the table. Hannibal and his wife. We got Candace. We got Keith, and we got the two shooters. I mean, the two people that robbed the jewelry store, and the lady shooter. Lady shooter talking about, I smell a rat. My question is, the two guys that held up the jewelry store, why are they sitting at the table and not behind bars? Now, I understand that the detective was looking for Reg. However, these two did break in and were attempting to rob the jewelry store, but they're not locked up because they were looking for Reg. Somebody please make that clear for me in the comments, because I don't understand why they're not behind bars. But anyway, we got the scene. We got the New Jack City. We got Reg. He's in all black. He's walking around the table. Where was you at, and where was you at, asking everybody where they was at. Finally, it's like he points a gun at Hannibal's wife, and she's like, hey, I was home cooking. I was cooking dinner. I didn't have nothing to do with it. And Hannibal stands up like, hey man, that's enough. And so again, Reg emphasizes somebody is going to die, and I'm going to find out who it was. And he goes, if you don't live here, get out. Because at first he told everybody to get out. Keith's like, hey, guy, I live here. So that was funny. Anyway, Candace is getting ready to go to work, and he's like, where are you going? She's like, I'm going to work. You like your job? No, I hate my job. I'm like, well, why don't you just quit it? You can be a lookout for me. And I'm like, she ain't trying to be no lookout for you. And that's exactly what she says. I'm not trying to get caught up in that world, being out in the streets, I'm not going to jail for nobody. No, I'm not going to be a lookout for you. Anyway, we remember that Detective Toussaint did go see Alicia in this episode, and she's got pictures because she's been casing out the house, and she shows a picture of Candace to Alicia and it's like, look, if you want to get in and try to find out where Reg is at, here's his girlfriend right here. Get in good with her, and then maybe we can get Reg. So Alicia's just like, I don't really need to do all this, but I will do it. So she goes to T-Mobile where Candace is working. And she's like, oh, my phone is broken. I need some help. And the next thing you know, I thought this was just a weird scene. She's like, look at me. I'm rich. I have a nice car. And have you ever been to Bora Bora? And I can do this. And who talks like that, first of all, to a stranger in T-Mobile when you're trying to get your phone fixed? The whole thing, I really feel like Candace is a little bit smarter than that. She's got jailbirds and drug dealers and all kinds of people hanging out at her spot. And she's like not that street savvy where she doesn't see what's going on. Anyway, she's like, "Oh yeah, I really do." So it's just weird how naive they're playing her. Alicia ends up giving her a card, says, "Hey, if you ever need anything, hit me up." So later on, Candace is in there talking to Reg, and she's like, he can see that she's texting somebody. He's like, "Who are you texting?" He's like, "Oh, just my new mentor." So he's asking questions about it. She's like, "Yeah, she says she's going to help me out." And, Reg is like, "I don't trust it." So then, they get all close together and everything. It's like they're about to kiss, and they're like, "Oh, well, I trust you." "Oh, okay. Well, listen, I'm gonna go do this thing tonight, and I want you to come with me. Just be my lookout." So she does agree to be the lookout. Next thing you know, they're sitting outside of some house. At first, I thought it was Alicia's house. I was like, "What is happening here?" So we see Red. She puts on the ski mask, tells her, "Look, I'll be right in, just in and out." So apparently, it looks like he has like maybe a key fob to this place, but he's able to walk in, and then that's all we see. Next thing we see, Candace is looking around. She's looking scared. She texts Alicia. Alicia's like, "Where you at, girl?" So I don't know if she's going to actually text her the address, and maybe, he's going to get arrested there. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. But I don't know. It might be just Candace, might be the one that turns him in. But anyway, let's also talk about real quick Tiff. Now, at the end of the celebration, because remember they had it at the bar, we see Tiff, she's cleaning up. Vic is also there. And at least they're having a little bit of banter. Vic is like, "I hope they have something like this for me when it's my time and people say nice things." And she's like, "Yeah, me too." So it seems like she's kind of easing up on him a little bit. Next thing you know, her water breaks and she's early, like a couple weeks early or so. So Vic is like, "Do you trust me?" She's like, "Yeah." So he's got to hurry up and get her to the hospital. I don't know if, hopefully everything's okay, the baby, and that she makes it out okay. But, we'll see. So that's how the episode ended. I thought it was a good episode. It was very emotional. There were some scenes where I was just kind of like, but shout out to the nods that they're giving to the 90s movies. I do like that. I think it's really fun. The little Easter eggs they're dropping in there. But if I left anything out, you guys let me know. But I think those are the main parts. Now, I am going to be adding a new review to my channel. It's going to be Washington Black, Sterling K. Brown. Let me tell you something. Anything Sterling K. Brown, I'm there for it. I absolutely love him. He's one of my favorite actors. And this is a limited series that's on Hulu. I will be reviewing that. I'll have the first episode on sometime this week. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned to my channel. But thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys for the season finale of The Chi next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you guys then. Bye.